Okay, well, you're all very welcome to this fifth year information evening and webinar 2023. This is going to be a part of the process, I suppose, in engaging with students and parents around their learning at senior cycle. So my name is Joy Coleman. I'm the deputy principal for fifth years. I know a lot of these students because I was their year head for 3 years and I worked them last year in TY. With me this evening is Mr. Michael Burns, who is the fifth year head. And again, he would have been year head to a lot of those students last year in TY. And we're joined by Mr. James Hyland and Mr. John Sharkey, who are two teachers and part of our guidance team here this evening. So the whole point of this is kind of to set out the stalls around senior cycle and what you as parents can do to support us, to support your young people. And I think the very important message that we want to get out this evening is this is a 2-year program. It starts from the moment you come into fifth year, you step into classes and you start engaging. You know, it's a very active program and there's a lot to take in for students, and we're very cognizant of that and we want to support them on that process. But there is a lot of work to be done that needs to be done at their end as well. And I suppose the key things that we're going to talk about tonight between myself and Mr. Burns, who are coming from the more pastoral side of things, is kind of, you know, the importance of attendance. Unfortunately, it's like the national lottery. If you're not in, you can't win. And, you know, you need to be there in the classes, actively engaging in teaching and learning, completing homework, revising regularly, and, you know, making sure that you're taking on board what teachers are telling you as well. Like, it's a very simple formula and it sounds very simple in essence, but in reality, you know, we know that it's very demanding. But if students are in every day and they're actively engaged in teaching and learning, they're doing their homework, they're having conversations with their teachers around their learning, the studies show that attendance is very closely linked to exam attainment. And we're just off the back of a set of exceptionally good Leaving Cert results. And the whole thing is that the students that got the 550s above, you know, were rarely absent from school. Obviously, there'll be unforeseen circumstances and we totally get that. But for us, it's very important that young people are they're engaging in their education, and that's how they're going to get the best out of it. I'm going to share a PowerPoint at the end of the webinar, along with the link for the webinar, around some tips and ways that you as parents and guardians can support us to support your young person. And all the tutors of the classes and their emails address are included. Mr. Burns's email address is included, and just some important dates to remember. So evening studies started tonight. It started good and early this year. So if your student would like to get involved in that, that's an option for them. And also that the parent-teacher meeting is the 25th of January. And that's another important date for you as parents and guardians to come and to speak with teachers as well. So I'm going to share all that so you don't have to worry. It won't be information overload. But I'm going to pass you over now to Mr. Burns, who's going to speak with you about his pastoral care role in supporting your young person. Thank you.
Okay, good evening to you all. My name is Michael Burns and I'm the fifth year head. So I'm delighted to have this opportunity to engage with you this evening. I was the transition year head last year, and as Miss Coleman has just said there, I would have known the majority of incoming fifth years in my role as a year head last year. So, you know, at these startup phases, it's very easy to get bamboozled with information overload, and I hope I don't contribute to that this evening. Basically, I want to keep this as straightforward as I can, and as Ms. Coleman alluded to there in her prelude, just to outline the broad brushstrokes of my role, and just to make sure that you know, you as the parent guardian are aware of that, and that we can work in cooperation with each other. and the teaching team and the senior management of the school, with the ultimate objective, of course, of making sure that your son or daughter lives up to their potential and gets the course that is their heart's desire, and ultimately the career that's their heart's desire. Basically, the yearhead's role is there are one or two substantive aspects to it. Communication is one of the major roles. I would be a communication cord, I suppose, between you and the parent guardians at home, and indeed the students as well. I would have a responsibility of managing certain aspects of the day-to-day attendance of the students, from the point of view of keeping an eye on punctuality, uniform compliance, making sure that students who are in need of counselling referral get the correct intervention that they need. And encouraging students in the most supportive way that we can as a team to liaise effectively with career guidance throughout their 2-year program, and just make sure that the personal academic objectives that they have set for themselves in terms of their choosing their new curriculum, which effectively they have done now in 5th year. Yes, we understand English, Irish and maths, for example, as core subjects roll over, but they would have basically chosen a new curriculum beyond those 3 core subjects, that they're happy in their choice of their curriculum and the levels at which they have decided to sign up for, and that they've made an informed decision about that. And what I mean by that is that they're satisfied this is the menu of subjects and it's at the right level, pitched at the right level, that's going to get them to the course that they're aiming for. I look upon 5th year as a foundation year. I often use this analogy with the students that it's like building a house. You put the pillars in to support the house very well in 5th year, and then everything else will rest on that. So sometimes, students can form the view that because the Leaving Cert isn't there at the end of 5th year, that somehow they can take their foot off the gas pedal. And I would say it's actually quite the opposite, because there's a freight train of assessment coming down the tracks in 6th year, which they need to be prepped for, things like the specialist subjects, examiners visiting from basically February onwards after the CEO form is filled in, etc. so forth. You have examiners coming down for the MELs, Modern European Languages, oral exams. So one of the things that I would ask of you this afternoon is just, to have a buy-in, that you cooperate with us, which I know you will, and I'm very confident because I've met and spoke to quite a lot of you throughout the year, that you support us in the school in Pipers Hill to create that culture of being industrious, and being objective and focused around 5th year, so that when 6th year does come, which inevitably it will, and we turn the page, that the students are well prepared then for that particular challenge in 6th year. And 6th year is quite challenging because of all the aforementioned things that I've said there, including, of course, filling in the CAO form. My email contact details are in the PowerPoint presentation that Ms. Coleman has put up, and feel free at any stage to contact me. If I don't get back to you immediately, it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's just that I'm on teaching timetable and it is a busy job, but I will follow up and I'll do the best I can to be consistent in my reply to you. There are only 33.4 weeks in the year, as I say to students. It's not an industrial semi-state sector calendar we work off of. It's an academic calendar. So when you take the 3 months for summer, February and October, and it is quite a short year, and the first term is the longest, but once we reach the midway mark in October, it gets exponentially shorter after that. So just trying to inculcate an awareness within your son or daughter of the passage of time and how quickly it is, to keep an eye on the journal, just to help us out and cooperate with us to make sure that they're togged out in uniform every day, and that they get to school in time. These are important building blocks for the recipe of success, and Miss Coleman alluded to that in her introduction there. So I hope I'm not taking up any more of your time unduly. I'll sign out now, and as I say, I look forward to working with you throughout the year, and don't hesitate to contact me at any stage if you have any questions or anxieties about anything. Thank you. I'll hand you over to Mr. Sharkey now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burns. And I'm one of the guidance counselors. James Highland is my colleague. And just before we start, if I could ask Joy to make me host so I can share my screen, because we've got a few slides we like to show, and we can explain then what we want to do. So we host.
It's not saying that I can make you host. So even though I'm host, even though I am host, it's not allowing me to add you.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Right.
John, it looks like I'm able to share my screen at the moment if you want me to go.
Okay, yeah, that would be good.
If that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no, I'm unable as well. So, Joy, I think it might need to come from you just to allow us to share. And the participants, if you just go to our names and click more.
Yeah, that's James is now host, so yeah. Yeah, so I think James, you're host. I came up that you're host now, so maybe you can share now.
So I should be able to share now.
Brilliant. Yeah, I can see those slides, James, if you want to do a slideshow. And sorry, James, you're on mute there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect, loud and clear.
And you're able to see my screen, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully you're able to see this presentation now at the moment, guys, and sorry for the delay there. First of all, you're all very welcome, as has been said already. Thanks so much for taking the time to be in attendance tonight, and I hope you get some value from it. As Ms. Coleman and Mr. Burns have already said, my name is James Highland. I'm along with John Sharkey here representing the guidance department. So I'm going to share some information with you today in terms of the Leaving Certificate from a guidance perspective, specifically career guidance. So we're going to try and keep it brief, but also share, I suppose, some of the important information as it relates to your son or daughter from a guidance perspective. What is career guidance? I suppose as simple as possible. It is to, well, our aim is to help your son or daughter make decisions about what they will do when they leave Piper's Hill, okay, when they move on from secondary school. Okay, so that in a nutshell is what we're about. The aims of the Career Guidance Programme, by the end of their time with us, the 2-year programme, they'll be able to research careers and third level courses. They'll understand the course entry requirements and the point system, okay, some of which you're going to get a flavour for tonight. They will develop self-awareness in order to make those decisions. They will be helped with around study skills and goal setting from an individual point of view. and they will be able to track their academic performance. And ultimately, they'll be aiming to apply for CAO, PLC courses, and apprenticeships. I suppose that would be very much on an individual basis, and it'll depend on what their individual plans are. I suppose the majority of our students do apply through the CAO system to move into third level. So I suppose from the information that you'll be shared with tonight, we will focus a bit more on the CAO and the point system, just so you're familiar with that. I suppose for anyone who hasn't had anybody in their house pass through the Leaving Certificate, if this is new, by the end of the 2 years, you'll be very familiar with all of this. So not expected to remember after tonight. It's just to give you a flavour, I suppose. So when it comes to making the decisions, when they will finish in Piper's Hill or when they move on from their time with us, how does that come about? What goes into that decision-making process? So there's a few ingredients here which we talk about in class. So first of all, we look at the individual students' interests, hobbies, school results, favorite subjects, subjects that they don't like as well, and their likes and dislikes in general, work experience, which is a very important ingredient. I know a number of the students in fifth year now have gone through the transition year program. So they may have engaged in work experience in school, and they may also be working outside of the school, and that's a valuable piece of information when it comes to making future career decisions. And the careers portal tests, they are, I suppose, self-assessment tests. So things like personality tests, values tests, and interest tests. I suppose that's really good information to help students make these decisions. Mr. Sharkey will go through a program called Reach Plus, which is hosted on the Careers Portal website, which is the main resource that we use when it comes to career research. Classroom and one-to-one guidance. Okay, that's an important piece of the puzzle as well. All fifth years will have one class per week of career guidance, and they'll also have some one-to-one guidance as well. Now, I suppose the transition years will have had career guidance as part of the transition year program, so they'll be a little bit more familiar with it. And that's an important ingredient too, as well as just active discussion, research, and thinking. I suppose that's in terms of thinking for themselves, outside of the class, outside of the school day, I suppose that's really where they'll get the value when they get to think about what they will do next. And I suppose maybe that's where you might come in around the discussion, I suppose facilitating those discussions, asking questions, and providing support there as well. And ultimately, with all those ingredients, what we hope that will come out at the end is some kind of a plan, okay, some kind of a direction as to what the next step might be. And our job is to facilitate that decision-making and planning process. Okay, and you'll have probably heard of the point system before. Okay, so some of you may not, or the CAO, Central Applications Office. We're going to share a little bit of information about this because there can be some misconceptions around it, and it can cause a bit of confusion. It is a change from the junior cycle program. Most students will be taking 7 subjects as part of the Leaving Cert program, and for the point system, their best 6 results are counted. And if the students do higher level maths, they get a bonus 25 points if they achieve a H6, which is 40% or above. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that on this slide. So you can see here, this is how the point system or the grading system works at Leaving Certificate. They are CAO points, okay, and CAO is the application process that students will use to access third level. Okay, so the higher level, okay, is the H on the left-hand side, and the ordinary level is O on the right-hand side. English, Irish, Maths is also foundation levels for those subjects. Okay, so it's important, I suppose, to consider here, when it comes to the bonus 25 points for Maths, that often creates a discussion and a conversation with students because there's a bit of an opportunity cost here with that one. Okay, the 25 points is not added to the best 6. It is only added to the Maths grade if they achieve 40% or above or a H6. Okay, which for many students is extremely challenging to get to. Okay, so part of the discussion that you may have or that we would have with students is honours maths for me? Okay, is the opportunity cost worth it? And part of that, I suppose, decision making, or part of that discussion might be, okay, if you were to pursue higher level maths and achieve the H6, what you would come out with would be 71 points for that maths grade. Okay. And if there was a different version of you that ended up going with the ordinary level maths, and let's say you got an 01, that would be 56 points, as you can see from the right-hand side. But let's say because of the time that you got back from sacrificing doing the higher level maths paper for the less challenging ordinary level maths paper, which allowed you to increase your grade in 2 of your other higher level subjects. Okay, that would be an increase of 21 points, which would be 77 there. So this is part of the discussion around the higher level maths. Okay, and I might be able to give a little bit more, I suppose, detail on this slide. So this is a sample results page from using the point system, I should say, from a sample of students. So as you can see, the student has 7 subjects, 6 higher level subjects and 1 ordinary level. Okay, and as I said before, it's your best 6 that are counted in the point score for the leading certs. Okay, the maximum is 625. Okay, it's 100 points for a H1, and the H1 in maths would give you 125. So that's where that comes from. So with this student, they did achieve the minimum of H6 in higher level maths. They got a H3. So they got the extra 25 points, which is added on to 77 for a H3, which gave them 102. Okay, so that score would be included, obviously, in their best 6. So you can see here, their total score would be 543 points, which is not counting the O2 and ordinary level Irish. Okay, so we'd often have those discussions with students maybe around taking one ordinary level subject, what would be the pros and cons to it. And, this is one of the hypothetical situations where that ordinary level subject was not counted. Okay, so again, hopefully that gives just a little bit more explanation and information around the point system and what it means and what it is. Okay. So I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Sharkey now. He's going to talk to you from here about the Reach Plus program and some other important piece of information around the guidance program. Okay, thanks very much, guys, for your attention.
Thank you very much, James. And again, if you can make me host.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, there you are, John. You're the host there now.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, as my colleague James Hyland was saying there, I'm the other guidance counsellor, and what I want to do is give more specifics really, and bring us down to the present moment. James was talking about, the final place we want to be in relation to leaving certain grades. But what is going to be happening with your son or daughter and has happened already from this week onwards in career guidance class is what you see in front of you here. Each one of your sons or daughters in 5th year has and is going to have this profile. Now, the reason I'm taking time to do this with you this evening is because a lot of the time in 6th year parent-teacher meetings, I've shown this to parents and they weren't aware of it. And it's a real missed opportunity. And you'll see why that is in a minute. So, as I said, each one of your students have exactly this. And this is really the backbone of career guidance in 5th and 6th year. And it goes through lots of different really useful apps and really useful skills there that the students can learn. So just to bring you through a few things, the idea is that you're aware of this, firstly. And secondly is that, you've got the tools now to maybe ask your sons or daughters, how are you getting on with that Reach Plus? Have you tagged any courses, etc.? So you've a good understanding of it. So I'll just bring you through some of the things. So these are the apps, and I'll give you an example. We might do some self-assessment. So the self-assessment is different tests that your sons or daughters will do. For example, they might do a careers interest test, we'll do personality tests, they'll do value tests, and they'll do multiple intelligence tests. And the idea is, for example, this is an example of a student here, and they've done maybe a careers interest test. And I'll just show you the results of this and how this relates to them getting a clear picture of the career or course they might be interested in doing. So this is a career interest test. You can see there, the student scored very highly on their social skills. Okay, not so highly maybe a naturalistic. So we mightn't be encouraging them or given the option of maybe going into agricultural science, but they're very much into investigative. Their investigative skills very strong, their social skills very strong. Also administrative. Creativity not so much. So that might be going towards obviously a career dealing with people. Maybe investigative, where they have to research, ask questions, find out about people. So this student is very much a person, very good with people. And this will give ideas to the students and to ourselves of what the careers or jobs that this student might be suitable for. So as I said, your son or daughter will have this completed. And now that you know it's there, it's something that you can ask them about and see how they're getting on with it. The other app there will show you, as you can see, there's many apps in this. But the other one that is of real use, when it comes up here, is the study performance. So what we do in Piper's Hill, and we've been doing it for the last 7 years, and because of that, we've seen an improvement in the Leaving Cert grades, is study performance. So basically tracking your results. So what we do from the start, and again, I just show you an example here. Okay, our exam targets. So next week when I go into my 5th year class, hopefully the internet will be a bit quicker when I go into them. Okay, I'll be getting to set their targets. So this is from a student who set their targets and they're currently in 6th year. So what I'm going to get them to do is they will set their targets. So this is their target grade for the Christmas exams. And early in term 1, so in the next few weeks, I'll be getting them to set their targets. This really improves their motivation and it really gives them goals to work towards. So rather than saying, try better in your Christmas exams, we've got specific grades and specific targets that they try and get to. And as you can see there, it automatically generates the points. So all the time, it keeps them familiar and it keeps them a concept and idea about how many points they're going for. So for example, this student, they targeted a H2 in English. And what they actually got then, we get them to fill this in after they got the Christmas results, they actually got a H4. So they didn't do as well as expected. So we would ask them, well, how come we didn't do as well as expected? Is there anything you can improve on? And then we set a target for their summer grades. In this case, the students put down they were going to get an O4 in Irish, an ordinary level 4, but they actually did better than expected, and they got an O2. And then their targets for the following set of exams in summer of 5th year is an O2. So they've actually increased their target, which will increase their motivation. So as you can see there, this really helps with their motivation and their goal setting and really pushes them along. And it's a really good class when you come back, say, after Christmas, and we look at what they actually got, see what went well, see what didn't go so well, and we'll see what we can do about it. And we come up with specific goals to get them up to the grade that they're going to target for the next one. And that will continue in 6th year, right up obviously to the Leaving Cert. So we'd have to get their target grade in the mock exams, and that will motivate them towards that. So that avoids the situation. We find that by the time they get to 6th year, they have a much more realistic idea of how they're going to get on in the Leaving Cert. And this really helps them to motivate. And if they feel that they're working towards an achievable goal, not an unrealistic goal, but an achievable goal, we find that they're much more likely to get that goal rather than unachievable, unrealistic goal. And this gives them a great awareness of their ability and where their strengths lie. So as I said, that is in the app. And again, your students can log into this at any time, anywhere, and it's really worthwhile for you to understand. So it's in the blue on the study performance. The last one I want to show you. So what they can do is, as I said, personality tests, multiple intelligence tests to give them an idea of their possible career direction. The study performance helps them in the classroom and with their grades. The final thing, and again, it's a very useful app in this, is the World of Work. So they can tag courses, and you can see this in their favorites. They can tag courses that they think they're interested in, and then they can come back to it. Because a lot of the time, they might see a course one day in careers class or at home in 5th year, really like it, and then they'll forget all about it. So when they see a course and research a course that they like, I will get them to tag those courses in the class, and that's there then permanently stays and saves on their profile, so that when they come back in sixth year, in September sixth year, the courses that they were looking at and expressing interest in fifth year are saved there, so they won't have forgotten about them. So again, it's a really good tool, and for you as parents, it's a really good tool that you can look at, and you can get an idea from fifth year onwards as to the direction and ideas your son or daughter have going forward. And again, that really opens up the conversation you can have with them. So that's a very, very quick whistle-stop tour of Reach Plus. As I said, everybody in fifth year has that profile, and that's what we work on in guidance class. So it's something really that, as I said, can really open up the conversation and really help you and your son or daughter to get to where you want to be. The next thing, I'm just going to go back to the presentation, and I'm going to bring it up here. Now, my colleague James has told us all about what we do in career guidance and what our plan is. But, you know, I suppose this part of the presentation is to try and bring you in as parents and make some suggestions and tips as to how you can best support your child. And any of you who have already brought any of your children to the Leaving Cert, you know that it's not only your son or daughter is doing the Leaving Cert, it's really all the family and everyone in the household does the Leaving Cert to some extent. So hopefully this might be a help to you all. The first thing is really to ask, listen and observe. You know, ask about school often. And that's why I showed you the Reach Plus profile. Now you have an idea of what we do in careers class, and there's plenty of good questions there you can ask based on what you know. Ask about projects, essays, debates, trips, etc. Like the question, how is it getting on at school? How are you doing at school? That's far too easy to say, oh, I'm going fine, or just not to give any answer at all. And then the opportunity is lost. But a more specific question, are you coming along with that project that's due in a few weeks? Or how are you getting on with that essay? Or I see you tagged a course there in Maynooth. I know someone who went there. Like, just really specific questions. Generally, students respond to that. Give space to listen. Sometimes we need to say less to hear more. And I'm sure my colleague James will agree with me that we find that a lot of students, particularly in sixth year, who come down to our office and can't concentrate, can't get their homework, feel that things are really getting on top of them. A lot of them just come into the office and just talk because they haven't had the opportunity or space to do it. And they're amazed that suddenly there's a room there they can come and sit and talk. And they're amazed when they're walking out of that how much it can help. So, you know, if it is your first time with a son or daughter through Leaving Cert, you know, just be mindful of that. Watch out for changes in behaviours. And I'll talk about stress in the next slide. But a lot of students, it is a difficult time, there's no doubt about it. And subtle changes in behaviours that only you as their mum or dad can see, they can be the real telltale signs, and sometimes it can be a cry for help. Observe. So always be observing, and rather than saying you're tired or why are you so tired, you know, you seem tired, you seem worried. It's non-confrontational, but yet it can open up a whole conversation. And the simple words of you seem can really change things. We've seen that through our counselling. So again, it's just a tip that you might use or remember to use at a certain time. The reality is that it is stressful. Leaving Cert is stressful. And any support you can offer is it is appreciated, even though you mightn't realize that, or you mightn't be told that you're appreciated. It is appreciated. So as I said, a little bit about stress. Like, stress is how you feel when you're facing demands that you're not sure of. It's uncertainty, and we all know that feeling. And the fact is, this is the biggest uncertainty your sons or daughters will have faced in their young lives thus far. So it's expected to have some kind of stress. And it's a normal part of everyday life, as I said, as we're all unfortunately very aware of. But there's different levels of stress, and there's good stress and there's bad stress. And good stress is the stress. It's a healthy level of stress. It drives us and motivates us and prepares us to face challenges. And if we didn't have it, we wouldn't get very far. So, you know, stress is real. In the last few years, it's become a real buzzword. I have stress. I need help. There's a problem. Not all the time. It's not that simple. A good level of stress, as we said, is beneficial. But as I said, to our level of stress that can be worrying, and it's important as parents that you're aware of it. So what are the symptoms? An inability to concentrate. Well, every teenage boy or girl has an inability to concentrate, but we're really talking about someone who just is not able to sit down, is not able to, they've done everything right, they're good kids, but yet they just can't sit down and focus. Next one is seeing only the negative. And again, you're best placed as your parents or guardians to see this. You know your own sons or daughters, and if suddenly you see that they're getting very negative and always down and everything is the problem, well, maybe that's a symptom that there's something else going on there. Constant worrying, moodiness, irritable, anger. And you say, well, what's new to any teenager? But if it's something that's out of character, if it's a level that you haven't seen before, maybe it can be traced back to the Leaving Cert. Maybe it's something that's going on in school and there's a simple fix. Anxious and agitated, as we said. Eating more or less. I'm going to talk about eating in a minute, but that can be a real telltale sign if eating habits change. Sleeping more or less, and the importance of sleep can't be overstated. But again, if there's a change in sleeping habits, withdrawing, maybe from their friends, from their family, from activities that they usually be interested in. Now, I know that you're all aware of all these, but it's good to get them all, at this time of the year, all in one place. And, over the next 2 years, something might twig here that you might hear tonight, and it might really help. Nervous habits like nail biting or pacing, something that hasn't happened before. And the use of alcohol or cigarettes or drugs to cope. Again, these are things that you know your son or daughter for, but if you also know if it comes to an unhealthy level or it's something that you haven't seen before. What are the causes? It's school, it's work overload, work avoidance. Unrealistic expectations from yourselves, and in fairness, sometimes from parents as well. And there's a big blame for this: the social life, relationship with friends, and social media. The last week or two, when the Leaving Cert results came out and the offers came out, it's all talk about the people who got 625 points. There's very little talk about those students who did really well, getting 300 or 400 points. In 2020, the most amount of points, the biggest population of students, the amount of points they got was 320. Now, you'd never think that listening, because the headlines grabbers are the 625. That puts massive pressure on students who already not too sure of themselves, of their relationships, what they're going to do in the future, and yet they're being told that they have to achieve. And that's all very stress inducing. And there's family problems. There's no perfect family exists. But just keep them in check and understand that your sons or daughters are going through a stressful 2 years. Poor self-esteem. Again, adolescents, teenagers, self-esteem is always very much a sort of a fine balance. But if self-esteem really hits the ground and there's negative, and you can even tell by body language sometimes, that's really cause of stress. And poor time management. So they are the symptoms. And we're going to give you some tips. And obviously, as parents, you are the best people to think about this. But here are a few tips that we think might help, and we would say to all parents over the years. So first thing is sleep. Everything stems from sleep. And again, my colleagues, I'm sure, would agree that a lot of the issues that come in front of us, between aggravation at school, problems with teachers, problem with homework, problem at home, the first question we will ask students is, well, how is your sleep? And 9 times out of 10, they're not getting enough sleep. So it's really, really difficult to cope. And we all know if you're tired, everything's a problem. So good sleep should give you plenty of daytime energy. Food, very important. Nutrition. So a well-balanced diet. Students, when they're stressed, and parents for that matter, and they're up against deadlines, they tend to skip meals, which will only increase. So try and get into good habits over the next 2 years. And food and meal time is a really good place to get into those habits and to establish those habits. Important in maintenance of good energy levels. And of course, exercise, and we don't mean going out running a marathon. Anything is exercise. 5-minute step outside the back door for a bit of fresh air. That's as much benefit as anything else in stressful times. And it's really important. It's easy to remember that on a nice evening like this. We're just out of the summer. We were outside. We naturally got exercise. But it's the times just before the mocks, the dark evenings, when there's assignments to be done, that's when it's easy to forget the importance of exercise, no matter how much or how little that is. Endless physical there's lots of research to show the physical, social, and psychological benefits of that. Screen time is not exercise. It's not downtime. It's quite the opposite. So let's talk about phones for a minute. Well, the reality is they're there, and to try and ban them is not going to happen. So, but ask the questions to yourselves, to your sons or daughter, or sit down with your son or daughter and tease out these questions. How does it enhance my life being on the phone for the amount of hours I'm on it? How much is enough? If you can come to an agreed amount of screen time, it's very beneficial for all. And your sons or daughters will thank you, because a lot of the time, even though they mightn't seem that way a lot of time, they're looking for guidance. They're looking for boundaries. They're still under 18. And if you can understand and negotiate the idea of how much is enough, it will be a huge benefit. What are the limits? And are you aware of the amount of screen time? If you get any of your students, I've done it with a few students already this year, to look up the amount of hours that you're spending on your phone. I did it with a student there last week, and there were 50 hours last week on their phone. That's more than a full-time job. So sometimes awareness is key, and then you can move on and do something about it. Some very practical tips. Get organized. Over the next 2 years, you're going to get a lot of notes. There's going to be a lot of books. Some students are going to forget their copy someday. They'll write it on the page. That page will be gone. Get a folder for every subject. If there's one thing you can remember from tonight, is go out at the weekend and get a folder for every subject. It's worth it. Every handout, everything will be thrown into that folder, and it's one less thing you have to stress or worry about, because they'll already be there. You should have a folder for every subject. This helps to keep all notes, handouts in one place, and it really gives a sense of order and organization to the student, which can help to tackle that horrible situation of stress. Another place is a place to study. It's an obvious thing, but is it tidy? Is it comfortable? Is it quiet? Understand the need for that with your student, with your son or your daughter, and the importance of having a quiet, comfortable, and tidy place to study. Grinds, it's really a thing to consider, and over recent years, we've seen a huge increase in the amount of grinds. There's a massive industry, a commercial industry growing up around grinds, and yeah, they work sometimes, but they don't work all the time. I have students coming in to me and say, like, yeah, I'm fine in that subject. I didn't do well in my Christmas exams, but I'm going to get grinds in it and everything will be okay. That's unrealistic. What that really is just trying to comfort themselves. So really, if your child does say they want grinds, talk to your child about their concerns, their level, and their fear. Like, what is the fear? What is the apprehension? Ask if they're doing the work, asking questions in class. Have they approached your teacher? Have they shared the worries before you start spending money on grinds? I suppose the thing to remember is that constant grinds, and I've seen it every single year, students don't get to study because every evening they're doing grinds, and this really has little effect. So the importance of really analysing the need for grinds, first of all, and the usefulness of them is important. And remember, the only person really working in a grind is the teacher. So there are important things to remember just before we jump into grinds. And just remember as well that grinds aren't the answer to every single issue. Find out what the issues are first, then see if they can be addressed. And if they can't, if there's a shortfall there in whatever sense that is, maybe grinds can work, but they're just not something to jump into. Remember, there is help at the school, so stay in touch. There's events occur, circumstances change, so keep communication open with the school. The pastoral team, as I've already been speaking, Mr. Burns, the year head, and then each class group has a tutor. They're the first port of call for any issues that the students might have. Of course, there's the guidance team, myself, Miss Moran, and Mr. Highland are always here to help. Our email addresses are on the website. You can ring the school and ask to get through to any of us. There's the leadership team. So the principal, the deputy principal, you've been hearing from Ms. Coleman, they're all there to help as well. And, you know, if things are difficult, go to your GP. Sometimes it is important to go to the GP and realize that that's what's needed. And there are online resources. I'm going to show you some very quickly this evening, but we will put up a list of them on the website. There's some 30 are there. So we've got Step Up to Secondary School is a really good, there's no need to rush taking these down. We will put them up on the website. For mental health, Balance, Jigsaw, Step Up are very good. Careers portal, that's where your Reach Plus is. That's excellent for career guidance. Qualifax is for courses as well. School days, again, that's for mental health, maybe for time management, all those sort of general problems. More specific academic websites with excellent resources, StudyClix, homeschool.ie. That's a paid service, but there's a lot of free content there as well. And the Dublin Academy of Education, again, it's a paid service, but they have a huge library of really useful YouTube videos on a whole range of subjects. So it's really useful. And then iRevise is an excellent sort of general website with lots of resources. Khan Academy is more scientific based subjects as well. So as I said, we will give a whole list of those on the website, but just, I suppose, just to be aware of them. So very quick summation. So help organize a good place. These are your takeaway points to study. Understand the need for equipment. Post-its, folders, notice boards, all help. Discuss time management. As we spoke there, balance, screen time, downtime, study time. Under discussion and agreed, much more possible to be abided with. Screen time we spoke about. And as I said, know the specifics. Like the question, how are you getting on at school today, is really pretty redundant. I got on fine, didn't get on fine, or you just get a tut. No use to anybody. Much better if you say, how's that Irish essay coming along? Or when your mock's on again? Or how are you getting on with that project? Much more inclined to get an answer, and much more inclined to have the desired effect and to help your son or daughter. Regularly ask how the study is going, and as I said, be specific. Offer your help to discuss, explain, ask to be taught something. Students, the more interactive the learning can be, the better. And your students really, or your son or daughter will really feel that you're there to help and to offer support rather than just enforcing. Be aware of the resources. There's lots out there. You got a quick flavour of them there. We'll be putting that list up on the website. And I suppose constructive, positive praise. Like the days of get up those stairs and do your homework, they're really no help. Positivity, praise, constructive is really the way to go. And as I said, just be there. It's a long 2 years. It's tough for everybody in the family. So support is it's really where it's at. Okay, so that's my part done. And I'm going to hand you back now to Ms. Coleman. Are you okay there yet?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks very much to Mr. Burns and obviously to Mr. Sharkey and Mr. Hyland for going through the guidance aspect of this evening. It's obviously a massively important resource for young people as they embark on that senior cycle journey. I suppose from a deputy principal and the senior leadership team, we don't mind whatever the next step is after us the students want to go on. If they want to go to a workplace, an apprenticeship, a PLC, third level, whatever that next step is, we want to make sure that they experience success and that they have the skills, knowledge, and attitudes to do whatever it is that's next for them. And often kids would come to me saying they're not sure about the Leaving Cert and this, you know, they're pondering what to do next. But I said, no one will ever turn around and say, God, I did too well there in the Leaving Cert. You know, it doesn't happen. When you do your best, you know, and you're proud of yourself, you know, that's reward enough. And we, you know, want to support students, whatever that next step is. As Mr. Sharkey pointed out, we are a massively resourced school around supporting young people. You've tutors, you know, you've their year head, Mr. Burns, there's a year head assistant, Miss Roach, myself, I'm the deputy principal for 5th years, Mr. MacDonald, the guidance team. We all want to work together to support young people, but, you know, we need, you know, parents and students, you know, they're young adults now, they're able to come and speak to us, you know, if there is something that's an issue, you know, come and, you know, let the year head know. And, you know, we can try sort things out. We don't want anything to become a bigger issue than it needs to be. Certainly not. You know, we're very proactive in trying to support young people. And it really is about them identifying what they need and how, I suppose, we can support them to do that. You know, guidance is one way, you know, there's a lot of other different supports that students might need, but, you know, we really encourage parents and guardians to keep those lines of communication open And, you know, it is a difficult time and it is a stressful time, and we all appreciate that, but we all are working together towards the same shared vision with these young people, and it's very important. And lastly, if I don't mention this, I will be in big trouble, because Miss Rowan, our homeschool liaison teacher, has organised a webinar on Thursday, the 14th of September at 7 p.m. around teenagers and sleep. So it's an hour-long webinar, and they're going to be discussing the best way to support young people around sleep. Now, the first thing is they get some, but apart from that, you know, there'll be all sorts of things that you can work with your young person around. And I know sleep can be a contentious issue. So if it's going to be sent out in a link by Miss Rowan through the app and through the email. So it might be of interest to some people here. Once again, thank you very much to everybody for taking time on this glorious evening as well. The weather made it hard, but look, it's very important that we get these chances to communicate to you about our vision for your young people, and that you get to, I suppose, hear us speak. But if there is anything, all our information is going to go out in the email tomorrow with the link to the video as well. So it's just left for me to say good night to everybody. Go and enjoy the last of the nice weather, and we'll see you all shortly. Thank you very much.